Um, Now, like I said a little bit earlier, some of you may be new to Metastock. Some of you may have been using us for years. Those people that are new to Metastock, we want to give you the opportunity to try out Metastock for 90 days so that you can use some of the same systems that our speakers so far have been using. Very easy to do. You just go to metastock.com/APAC Summit 3-for-1. Also, I do want to mention once again that we are coming to Sydney for those of you that are in Sydney, Australia. We will be at the Radisson Hotel and Suites in Sydney, July 16th and 17th. And we will actually have a pretty large slate of speakers. Rahul Mahendar, Stuart McPhee, Paul Nogin, who you just heard, Scott Brown, Kelly Clement. Normally this will be an event that we charge $5.99 for. For attending the Asia Pacific Summit, though, we are doing $200 off. So if you are in the area, definitely let us know. If you have any questions or comments so far, if you want to take advantage of any of the offers you've seen so far, please feel free to come into metastock.com/sales chat right now, or give us a call at +1-801-506-0900. Now, our next speaker here, Mr. Brad Gilbert, we've had the pleasure of working with him for quite a while. He actually founded Traders for Traders in 2009 after 18 years on the front lines of some of the biggest Forex trading teams in the world. The banks included Citibank, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, and TD Securities in Sydney. He is very, very experienced in the FX market as well as global markets. We're very lucky to have him here this morning. Brad, I'm going to turn the time over to you. What did I miss? Tell us a little bit about your background.
G'day, Hunter. Yeah, thanks, mate. Well, I guess it's one of those things. I mean, I never sort of really knew what I wanted to do when I left university. It was one of those things that I sort of ended up falling into the business of banking. I was very fortunate enough the very first role I had as a graduate was working on the FX desk at Citibank in Sydney, and that's where I ended up staying and spent a good 10 years with Citibank. 5 in Sydney and 4 in London, a couple of years in New York as well. So this is what I've been doing ever since I left university. So it's one of those things that once you get into, and I'm sure a lot of people who are attending the summit here today, once you get that bug, it's hard to shake, because this is just such a great thing to be able to do, a great skill that it doesn't require a lot of intensive labour, which is a good thing, but that you can be anywhere. If you've got access to the internet, you're on. Now, one of the fortunate parts of having a long sort of term trading career is you get to learn with the bank's money, so to speak. And it's very hard, I understand, for a lot of people who have been trying to learn either by themselves or through various instructors to actually manage that capital, learning experience, where a lot of professionals do get the benefit of actually just, using the bank's cash, as I said, and a number of years to really build up your understanding of the fundamentals and everything else. All right, so what I'm going to do today, the presentation, okay, it's all about trading the Ichimoku Cloud. And I'm based in Sydney at the moment. I do spend a reasonable amount of time in New York and also London. But down here in the Asian session, traders can get a little bit lost. All right, now what I want to do is come back over and give you a bit more understanding about the Ichimoku Kinko Hyo Cloud. Okay, now this chart, and let me just give you a bit of background before we get into the actual, the indicator itself. Now, I was, as I mentioned, I did progress into a sort of senior level trader at Citibank in London. I was probably only one of 2 guys that weren't English, so it was very competitive, very tough environment to sort of trade, but I ended up excelling so well that I got off the smaller currencies, and I was in charge of the yen and the yen crosses. So over that sort of three-year period from the time I was in charge of those, every 3 months they would fly me to Tokyo. I would sit in the Tokyo dealing room with our traders over there and just either get to know them, get to know the way they trade, get to know the ins and outs of the market and all the nuances, because each market is somewhat slightly different. I came across the Ichimoku Cloud, and this is back around sort of 95, 96, 97, you know, technical analysis. We had originally back in the 90s, early 90s, we had our charting on massive big graph paper, massive scrolls, and we'd have to scroll them out for the chartist. He'd get on the floor and start drawing with his pencil. Now, the high-tech tools like the product you have in front of you is basically where it's revolutionized the analysis industry, and I guess it's also made an industry out of indicators themselves. But what it did do is it really brought to the forefront the Ichimoku Cloud. Now, you go back over the course of time, the Japanese traders have been using this for a long time. Now, let's isolate Japan for a minute. It is the most developed FX trading country in the world. Okay, there's more FX trading accounts in Japan than any other country together, and in fact, there's probably more in Japan than everywhere else combined. They love FX, right? Most of the historical countries, Europe, North America, everywhere else for that matter, Australia, you know, everyone was sort of traditionally involved with equities and the stock markets. The Japanese, it exists, but they trade FX. You know, that low interest rate environment from the very late 80s, early 90s, they started to trade. And this is where the phenomenon such as, known as, I should say, Mrs. Watanabe sort of came out. Now, Mrs. Watanabe was a housewife that actually got brought before the tax evasion authorities in Japan. Now, what happened over there was she was, and they basically pulled her up. She'd made millions of money and hadn't put in any tax receipts. So when they went through her trading accounts, they'd find, she said, well, how do you make all the money? Well, I'm an FX trader. They went through her accounts and actually found out she did trade FX. And then from that point on, every housewife in Japan now trades full-time. The husband goes to work, they trade full-time. But the whole Mrs. Watanabe name now really gives you, it really relates to all retail traders. Now, what was she doing? She was trading the Ichimoku Cloud, and this is where the Japanese traders are also, you know, everyone follows this, and this is where the Japanese guys sort of told me about the whole aspect as well. Let me just blow this screen up, make sure everyone see the whole screen there. All right, so now let's just get into the chart. So when I first rocked up into Japan, I think it was around 96, on the trading floor in Citibank Tokyo, I sat down next to one of the senior guys, and he could speak a little English. He was explaining to me, I was like, what's going on here with the cloud? Now, once you get into the general principles of the Ichimoku Cloud, it is really simple to trade. Now, I was going through the various aspects. Now, if I click on just one of the bits of analysis here, you'll see everything light up. Now, there's lines all over the place. Now, I was sort of generally asking, okay, what are all the lines? You get the Tenkan Sen, the Kijun Sen, and the Chikou span. Right? These are all different moving averages. And the whole Ichimoku Kinko Hyo Cloud is known as the one glance equilibrium chart. Right? It's one big giant moving average. And you've got all these three little lines, which are the various, you know, one's a forward projection of trend, one's past, trailing, all sorts of stuff. The senior guy that I spoke to, he said, Brad San, go to your charts and take all that stuff off. He said, basically, those moving averages, okay, no one cares. No one looks at them. So what you want to do is, and this is the way I've been trading this for 20-odd years, is actually take off, and the best thing about this tool is you can actually do this, is actually just make them invisible, right? Because what we want to focus on is the cloud itself, okay? Now, this is the key component. Now, if you're familiar with technical analysis, and what we're talking about is, you know, just general support and resistance, okay, and you know you should be doing this on your general charts. Here's the sort of my major charts at the moment. So looking at your technical analysis, okay, resistance, okay, there's buying. Let me just pop this Kiwi chart up. You know, generally what you find is they'll be selling below the resistance line, and there's buying or stop loss orders above it. Now this structure is exactly the same for the Ichimoku Cloud, right? So this is the first thing, but the best thing is, now the whole Japanese market, 160 million people all banging away trading FX, they love it. Now the actual cloud, let me just go into the components. If the currency is above the cloud, okay, the first level of the cloud acts as support, right? You've got the first level of support, and the bottom part of the cloud is the second level of support. Okay, so you've got basically two support levels when you come down to the cloud itself. Now, there's two ways to be looking at that, and some of the traders who are getting out early will get out when the first level breaks. The traders who are probably a little bit more aggressive or deeper pockets will get out of a long position once it breaks through the bottom. Okay, so it's quite simple, and this is, funnily enough, a lot of traders ask me after 26 years of trading, show me some of the advanced stuff. Well, I can tell you that the more advanced trading gets, the simpler it is, right? It's really simple. So if the currency is above, the cloud acts as support. Now, down here, for instance, if the cloud is below, the currency is below the cloud, it acts as resistance. So support up the top. If the currency is above, it acts as support. If the currency is below, it acts as resistance. And once again, you've got two levels of resistance. And there's two different ways to trade this, but first of all, just understand that simple concept. Anytime the currency is above and you've got the cloud below, it's going to be acting as support. And anytime the currency is below the cloud, it's going to act as resistance. All right? Very simple profile. And what you want to do is, with the whole aspect, there's a couple of ways to trade actual dollar yen, and it does trade a little bit differently to other currency pairs, and it's because the traders focus more on the Ichimoku Cloud than trend lines. In fact, they don't really look at trend lines at all, the Japanese traders. They just look at the Ichimoku Cloud. So by taking those other moving averages off, the Kijun Sen, the Chikou Span, and the Tenkan Sen, you're actually really isolating the cloud itself. Now that's part and parcel. So even if you go back over the course of time, now the best way to sort of test anything is really to go back and have a look at the way it's performed over the course of time. Now, of course, you'll have some false breaks in this thing, like any sort of trend line or technical analysis. But generally, when you do start to get, you can see here when the currency does break through the top of the cloud or even below the cloud, it usually stays below it. Now, in this situation, you can see how well the top of the cloud there was acting as support. Once it gets into the actual cloud itself, and let me just blow this up a touch. Okay, so you're looking at this part here. Now, what we call generally when it gets inside the cloud itself, right, I would generally call this the uncertain trade zone. Okay, we generally refer to it as the barroom brawl. It's an area where it's a bit of a scrap fight. Okay, traders are trying to work out, okay, is it going to go down? Is it going to go up? And this is like the area very close to trend lines, technical trend lines, where the currency does a lot of price action. There's usually a lot of dollars changing hands through this process. So anytime it gets into the cloud, it can get a little bit confused. When it breaks back out of the cloud, it becomes clearer again, right? So then there's a couple of different concepts that we'll bring into this to actually explain it a little bit further, okay? Because, generally if the cloud is going up, it's a general visual that you can see that the general trend should be going upwards, okay? And then when the cloud is going down, same thing. The general trend of the currency is actually down. Okay, so this is why they don't really need trend lines, because this cloud, the one glance equilibrium chart, does it for them. All right, it's very nice to and very easy to trade. I would actually love it if the whole globe actually got on this, because how you go around looking at all the different currency pairs, people are coming to me and saying I've got 10 different indicators. I'm trying to work out what to do. And I'm like, well, they're going to confuse you because they're going to be contradictory, okay? Yeah, sure, part of the market's looking at that one, another part's looking at this, and this, that, the other. You've got no critical mass. The reason why the Ichimoku Kinko Hyo Cloud works is because the entire Japanese market trades off it. The institutional bankers and also all the retail traders. It is perfect. And the best thing is it's a pre-programmed like mathematical model, and it's already in the programs, so it's very accurate because everyone looks at the same thing. All right, so the whole concept is very simple. Now, let's just start to have a look at where we can actually potentially trade the opportunity. Okay, now, one of the things that you're generally looking for, okay, now it's like even trading normal conditions. You generally need to understand where the market bias is. Okay, now if you've got a general market bias, for instance, where the currency is going up, well, the trend is your friend. Okay, what you would be looking to do is use the cloud. Anytime it gets close to the cloud, is looking for an opportunity to buy dollar yen. Okay, until it breaks down. Now, I would generally say the trend is on until it breaks through the bottom of the cloud. Okay, that's when I'm really looking for a serious break trade opportunity, when it breaks down through the bottom. But until that happens, to me, the trend is continuing until that bottom part of the cloud is broken. You'll find that when you go through past history and you look at dollar yen through all aspects, the false break trade is it's a lot rarer on dollar yen and through the cloud than it is on most of the other major currency pairs. Okay, because when it does finally break, you've got those two key levels that they're looking at. Once it does break through those, you do get a bit of a clean out and it doesn't really come back. Okay, so you've got your first level of support. You could be looking to buy close to this level. And one easy way to actually approach the opportunity is, let me just change the color of the pen, is you could actually trade this with a lot of structure. Now there's a lot of different skills that you can employ in this. Technical skills, number one, but then capital management skills also to get into the trade. Now what you're trying to do is get into the trade, get into the trend and hold the position. So what you don't want to do is probably load up on your full position size straight away, or you can do that. What I would generally suggest is you have your stop loss on the other side of on the downside of the cloud. Okay, now that's going to open up a potential decent hit if the currency goes straight down. So what you can do is even average in, maybe half of your trade size on the top of the cloud, because that's where you want to get in before the market starts buying, and then potentially your second part of your position is, so buying just above it, and your second part of your position averaging in with your stop loss just below the cloud. That gives you two entry points and allows you to get into the trade without a lot of pain. If you do load up on that first trade, well then you can end up with a bit of a headache. But it's all about being consistent. Now what you can do at the same time is you can really maximize the opportunity. This is what happens if you're really consistent. If you do load up on the opportunities, then you can see the value in this. Right, so it's really about building capital. Once you've got a capital base, that's when I would be suggesting you do increase your trade size on that first entry level. Right, so that's just generally the range trade or trend trade. Okay, you're looking to buy back towards the cloud. And this is the same on the downside. Once that currency breaks through, okay, the whole time this currency, dollar yen, is moving topside, the whole cloud here is acting as support. Now as soon as this cloud breaks down, it starts to act as resistance. Okay, so this thing all the way down here is acting as resistance. What you've got to do is assess the opportunity. Now, where can you get in on the break trade? Now, as I said, the best opportunity is the first break. Right, this is your number one. Because after this, it will have a bit of a tumble as there's a clean out. Then you've got to wait for the currency to stabilize, and it almost comes back and tries to find the cloud, right? Like technical levels. Comes back and starts testing the cloud. Now you can see here, if you get into the currency pair, you're pretty safe from being stopped out. Now you've got opportunities here where you can do a number of things. You can start scalping around these levels, or you can start to look for the bigger move. And I would generally look for the bigger move on these opportunities. So your entry levels are back towards the cloud as it comes back here. And you can see there's a number of opportunities where even if you've got in, let me just change the color there again. Even if you get into, obviously, that first level, there's a trade. Now, you've got to have a set trade plan too. Now, I don't want to sort of harp on this, and this is more about the cloud than capital management, but what most traders forget to do is take profit. Now, you've got to have some plan in there to take some cash out. Otherwise, you end up letting a trade run. It runs, say, 100, 200 points into cash, and then you let it, you got your stop loss on the top side, it comes back, and you end up with about 50 points. Generally, you have to have a set structure, take your cash, and then look for the second opportunity. So in this opportunity here, I would have already taken some cash out well before the low, okay, or you can just have a trailing stop and try and maximize that, of course, but then you're looking for the next opportunity to load up, right, and you're generally looking for a profile on the bottom side of the cloud. Don't wait for it to hit the cloud because it won't hit that often, okay, it always gets close and traders are already selling. So then you've got your second opportunity. Now, it has traded sideways and then dipped. Okay, that's another from 112.50 down to just under 112. If you had another trailing stop loss profile in here, you've probably taken 30 or 40 points out of it. Then you're looking to sell again for the third time. It's dropped another sort of 50 points, another trailing stop profile. You're looking to get in again and again. Now, once it goes through that third time, you can see it hasn't really come back close to the cloud. Okay, and that's one of the pitfalls. So you either try and hold a core position, okay, short a small position, and keep trading the rest of the position off the cloud, because at some point and you don't generally know when this is going to happen unless this is where you can start to tie in some of the economic numbers, because if you get some really, say, strong Japanese numbers, then you will see the big push lower, and that's when you know just to hold the position and don't square up. But otherwise, once it does a bit of work around the cloud, then it disappears and just starts to drop. All right. Now let me just bring a bit more profile in here. Okay, so that's sort of looking at the general range trade, right? Looking to go with the currency. And as you can see, you don't want to have your stop loss right on the bottom of the cloud, right? You've got to give yourself a bit of breathing room. Like I'd say suggest more than 10 points through the level is enough to make sure that your order has protection. Okay, and you can see how once it's broken up through the cloud here, acts as support, support, support. Now it's in an uncertain trade zone, breaks above, and it starts to do a bit of toing and froing. Then we had the Bank of Japan not doing anything with rates. This is a nice easy opportunity down through the cloud, getting short. There was a quick 150 points there in the 10 before we got to reload. And that's pretty much the profile. So a lot of traders who say you're not familiar with trading the Ichimoku Cloud, what you want to do is, just for peace of mind, go back through the course of time and have a look at the performance of the cloud and the way it trades through the cloud. How the cloud, once again, once it's below the cloud acts as resistance, and when it's below the cloud, when it's above the cloud, it acts as support. Very simple. All right, now let's just come in and I'll bring some more advanced profiles into this. So, okay, generally you've got the break trade. As I mentioned, there is a, you do get the occasional false break. In this instance here, just recently, you've seen it just break to the downside, and then it's kicked in back up to the top side. So the false break trade profile, of course, it's there. Usually uncertain trading times. We had the US retail sales figures yesterday, so you know the market was a bit of a short squeeze just before those numbers, and then after the initial numbers came out, popped up, and then started to drift off from there. Okay, so you're really looking for the cloud for direction. Now, this is predominantly in the Asian session, but the cloud itself is getting a bigger profile, and it is becoming a lot more prevalent across other markets now. Now, if you have a look at my major charts, right, I generally focus on trend lines. You've got some Fibonacci's in there, but dollar yen always has the Ichimoku Cloud on it. It is a genius profile. The Japanese traders, they aren't silly. Okay, as I said, they're the most developed country in the world. They have one tool to trade, and it's awesome. So what can we do with this? Now, there's a whole range of things you can do. There's a number of strategies you can bring into play here. And I'm not just talking about a break trade or a range trade or a trend trade. There's a number of different other things we can do. First and foremost, what you want to do is incorporate it into all your crosses. Now, understanding the trading session you're trading in is very important. All right. I just got a quick question there. Where does the cloud get defined? Okay, so well, basically the cloud was, I mean, the mathematical model for the cloud was actually predefined, I think, by mathematicians, you know, hundreds of years ago. Okay, and that's where it comes from. I actually, to be honest, once you have the formula, and all the technical analysis programs have the exact same formula, it is predefined through Japanese history by one of their mathematicians. Very similar to where candlesticks were developed. All right, so what you want to do is start to bring in to the Asian session. Now, understand the session you're trading in. Now, you know, I've spoken to traders all over the world about this, and definitely in investment banks, we focus on training the junior guys specifically about each session. Now, in the Asian session, the Japanese market is the biggest component of it, right? You know, there's banks and things in Hong Kong and Singapore and everything else, but the number of traders, Japan's the hotspot. Okay, so you really need to understand what they're doing. Now, what have the Japanese got in their pockets? Okay, they've got yen, okay, Japanese yen. So when they trade the majors, this is what a lot of people don't understand. When we look at the major currency pairs, we're looking at Aussie against the dollar, Kiwi against the dollar, sterling, euro, dollar against the yen, dollar CAD, dollar Swiss. They're the major currency pairs. In Japan, the major currency pairs are dollar yen, Aussie yen, Kiwi yen, euro yen, sterling yen, CAD yen, Swiss yen. Okay, to them, these are the major currency pairs, and that's where they trade those majors through the yen crosses. That's why the yen crosses are really aggressive, right? They can be super aggressive. Now, what we're trying to do is, what you want to do is get the same profile up here on your yen charts, okay, and your yen crosses. So I have a profile here where I have dollar yen, so I can see exactly what's going on with dollar yen, okay, if it's breaking higher or lower. I also have the crosses here. Now, what you have to do, make sure you've got the Ichimoku Cloud on your yen crosses. Then this is where you start to get a bit more advanced. You need to know what's happening, say for instance, in the Aussie dollar, Kiwi, Euro, Sterling, and CAD. Now, yesterday was a classic example of having a look at the other major currency pairs. I've got a whole range of templates I use for different components of the market, but understanding where these currencies have broken down, it's a very nice, easy way to get into Aussie yen, Kiwi yen, and the other yen crosses. For instance, yesterday we got short Euro yen down through 80, and it was more on the breakdown here in Euro. Actually, the initial start of the day, it was down through 113.80, right? So you see Euro breaking down through 80, you should be coming back over to your Euro yen chart with the Ichimoku Cloud. Funnily enough, at that same time, Euro yen was breaking down through 123.80. It's a nice, easy trade to get into, and the best profile about this, and this is why you've got to love the whole structure. We've got we actually had a trend line here at the same level, and I'll come into explaining what this is. This is what I would call the Ichiban strategy, where you've got the trend line and the cloud diverging on the same point. What you're looking for is when that currency goes down through this level, I know a couple of things. Okay, through the trend line is one, you'll get some stops, but I know there'll be some stops triggered as it breaks down through the cloud. As soon as it does that, right, I know the cloud will act as resistance. We've got our first line of resistance here where it's struggled, it's come back and retested. Okay, then we've got another second line of resistance above that. So you've got two cracks of the cherry here, two bites of the cherry to really get the position running. All you have to do is put the order on and let the market do the work. Now it just sort of grinds away, comes back, then once Europe came in, they gave it a good old touch up, and there's your quick 100 points on the downside. Once again, you've got to have a trade plan to take profit. Otherwise, you'd see how this thing retraced through that European session back up to 123.80, the basic level that sort of broke down. But the main bulk of the sellers would have been back up here a bit higher on the cloud itself. So this is a trade we did yesterday, and you can see how the profile fits. So having Euro yen, having the cloud there is a very easy way for traders who don't have a huge amount of fundamental experience, okay, reading the market, to get into the market, right? What you can do is get more successful by isolating these opportunities and trying to work out whether the trade to the downside is going to be real or if it's not going to really go at all. Now, the Aussie yen pre this break yesterday was actually banging up against a support line on the Aussie against the dollar, and that would be one trade where you think, well, if the major currency pair hasn't broken, then Aussie yen's probably not going to go as well. You can isolate these opportunities. But having a look through the cloud here on all these yen crosses, I can tell you it's going to make you a lot of money understanding the cloud and the Ichimoku, how it works. Right, so that's the general profile. Okay, everyone comfortable with that? I'll just take a few questions as we go through this. When will Metastock have a complete cloud? I'm not sure what you mean there, Philip, but Metastock, this is Metastock I'm using here. Well, Thomson Reuters, Metastock, they're all the same big product, right? So this one here too, sorry, one thing I meant to mention at the start, with the cloud here too. Now, I had someone ask me there before, what's the significance of the color of the cloud? There's actually no significance, okay? The Kumo, which is the cloud, okay, you've got the upper Kumo and the lower Kumo, it doesn't really matter. This is just my color preference because I like to see what's happening, okay? So when I've got the cloud, so you can actually make this any color preference you like. There's no sort of predetermined. You can actually go into the actual, if I double click on that, you can actually go in and change the colors to whatever you fancy, okay? It's just more, this is the way I've had it forever, and that's the way I sort of look at it. Now, one thing that, so you need to sort of set yourself up here with a couple of different things. Now, let me go into predetermining. One very good aspect of isolating the trading opportunity, okay, as I said, is bringing in some of the other indicators out there. Now, what we would say as a professional trader, indicators for me are other markets, right? What I'm generally talking about is the equity market. The dollar yen and the equity market, the Nikkei, or the topics, these two puppies here probably intrinsically have a greater connection to the currency than any other currency pair. Nikkei goes up, dollar yen goes up. Nikkei goes down, dollar yen goes down. They are basically joined at the hip. Now, what you can do is with that, right, to really fine-tune the trading opportunity is you'll see on this particular chart, okay, I've got the Nikkei futures on the left-hand index here. This is the Nikkei futures. I've got this on my chart as well, so I can see when it's about to sort of break down through the cloud as well, and it is a good trigger mechanism, I should say, if I just get that out. And you can see how it performs against the cloud as well. But as soon as it breaks down, the Nikkei, the equity market, can be a great lead-in for the currency. You see it break down, it could be an opportunity to get into the currency pair. I generally use it just as an overlay so I can see visually what is actually going on in the equity market. All right, so that's one thing. Now let me just go through, there's a bunch of questions coming up here, and I'll run through these and I'll whip into a bit more sort of strategies, and particularly looking at the scalping opportunities. Would the dollar yen trade work on a 15-minute time frame with the cloud? Okay, well, to me, it may very well. Okay, one thing that we do through our the whole training program that we run, and you know, and then the sort of mentoring aspect is we fine-tune you to understand market structure, understand why prices move, and how to trade those price movements. Now, understanding that whole market structure, understand one thing: when you are in institutions, right? If you're looking at a short time frame, the shortest time frame we used to look at are hourly charts. Okay, and that's why all my charts are all hourly charts. If I want to look at longer time frames, I go to daily charts, weekly charts, monthly charts, looking for the big overall picture. But I don't go into anything smaller than that. And that's because the core fundamental market, the guys at the banks who are thrashing these things about all the time, they look at hourly charts. All right, so I'm not going to say it doesn't work on 5-minute charts or 10-minute charts. I've never really looked at it, to be honest. I've never had a liking to. I was initially trained to look at it on the bigger time frame. So just having a look through this, I mean, it does seem to be sort of performing. If anything, there's a lot more activity through the cloud than the hourly time frame. It's probably something you need to investigate. I have never wasted my time because I want to trade with the main market, not just on my own. And that's what really technical analysis is all about, or analysis. It's trying to find out what the core market's doing. If you can identify it, then you can trade with them. Okay, you don't want to be trading against the market, that's for sure. Do you use the stochastic indicator with Ichimoku? Yes, I use slow stochastics, Matt. What you can do is, it's an extra tool. Like, I do have it up on my charts, of course, as you can see down the bottom here. If what you're trying to do is you're trying to isolate the entry point as best you can. And by doing that, what you'll do is you'll reduce your overall risk. So what you want to do is, when it comes time to, say, the currency potentially breaking down, and this situation here actually is a very good one. I'll talk about this in a second. But if the currency is above the cloud and it's trading consistently, okay, that's where it comes down towards the cloud. That's when you can start to look at your stochastics. And in this situation, if it's a little bit oversold and it's coming into the cloud and back towards that support line, well, then you're probably discounting the opportunity for a break trade. And in fact, looking to get long and go back in with that trend. So yeah, definitely use your stochastics. It's the very last point. I don't use stochastics as my first leading indicator. Indication to get into the trade, I should say, not as an indicator, because I don't use very many of them. My indicators, as I said, are the equity markets, economic numbers, and technical levels. All right, now one key part, I'll come back to those other questions in a sec, but just before I forget, one area where you want to identify where things get a little bit murky, right? You can start to get into the currency here, like when these clouds like this, the Kumo, or the cloud, is going down, you can see how aggressive the currency moves. And when you start, see there's here, it's a bit of a transition of the trend. It trades sideways and then it starts to edge up, and that cloud starts to go up. Visually, you've got to know that the Japanese traders will be thinking this currency is now in an uptrend, or even though it's short term, right? But when the cloud starts to go sideways like this, I can tell you it gets messy. And what I'm talking about is it will start going up and down through the cloud. Okay, both sides, 20 or 30 points, be careful. When the cloud flattens out, it gets a little bit messy and convoluted. Now, you can use stochastics, but even in this regard, I don't think it's that helpful. So if I just go back through a bit of time, you can start to see what I'm talking about. When it starts to go horizontal, okay, there's no real direction. It's probably a time to sort of sit back and relax. Now, the key part here where dollar yen sort of really broke down, obviously, was the core fundamental aspect when we had the Bank of Japan come out and do nothing on interest rates when they were sort of expected to go to negative rates. You can't see it there just because of I've got that the Nikkei there on top of it. But basically, this is a situation where it's a no-brainer trade. Okay, we've got the cloud. If they don't go to negative rates, it's going to drop very quickly. You have your order below the level and it just gets executed. Now this level, because it was such a big move, my order was, I experienced about 20 point slippage, but I'm not too worried about that because it dropped another 200 points. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. That's why you don't have a massive position and load up on these things, because you still need capital management over everything. Before you even start trading the Ichimoku Cloud or any other sort of trading, make sure you get your capital management squared away. All right, so the main point of what I was just trying to explain is, okay, very good direction when the cloud's going up and down. When it goes sideways, be careful because it can be quite uncertain, okay, what's going through. Now, back to the questions here. No, that's right. So someone there, Philip's just saying, I'm using Metastock 14. It doesn't have the projected cloud past the current price as it should. Now, what the cloud usually does, because it's determined, don't forget, it's a big giant moving average. It needs price action to really give it the movement. So what you should have, Philip, is it should be just in front of the currency, okay, give you a bit of a direction, but that's as far as it goes, okay? It doesn't go on forever. It needs price action to work out exactly what's going through, and that's as far, hopefully, that you've got that part of it. Now, just another question here, how good is it for stocks? Well, that's a very good point. I don't trade individual stocks myself. I'm more trading the indices, okay? Now, one thing that you will find, if I just get this up, once again, anything to do with Japan that they trade, you have the Ichimoku Cloud on. Now, I watch very closely the Nikkei, okay, the actual index itself, and I do watch this one. I haven't really overlaid it on the Dow or the S&P 500. I watch it more on the Japanese products, and it does work very well for trading the Nikkei futures. I mean, just go through your charts and have a look at this. It's quite awesome. Now, the whole profile of getting into the trade, I mean, you can see how it sort of comes through all these different levels. One of the key parts of trading this stuff is understanding the trade plan when it gets there. Now, I've gone through a few different strategies, right, how to trade various components. Whoops. What you need to do is actually have a very tight plan in when you get in, okay, where your stop loss is, and make sure your capital management profile is in there. If you try and penny pinch this thing, and what I'm talking about is trying to get in right close to the cloud and you get out on the other side of it, both sides of the market, okay, you haven't got enough risk on the table and you will get chopped up in a bit of price action. Do I find the cloud as effective with pairs that do not include the yen? Okay, Tim, good question. Not really, to be honest. Okay, I haven't found it to be as awesome as it is on the yen and the yen crosses. And why? It comes back to the profile of what it is. Okay, Japanese traders use this predominantly. Okay, it works on the yen and yen crosses because they trade it exactly like this. So what you want to do is, like the core market outside of Japan uses trend lines. Okay, that's it. So that's all you need outside that market. And that's why I have my major charts without the Ichimoku Cloud. If I want to trade the majors, right, any of these major currency pairs, I trade them through the yen crosses if I'm in that Asian time zone myself, or I treat them as two separate things. Okay, you've got the major currency pairs against the US dollar, and then you've got the other currencies against the yen, and they are two separate groups. Okay. what best charts time to see? Okay, so the best time frame, as I mentioned, is the hourly chart. Now let me just go back into dollar yen here. Now let me just come back through. Now, as you can see on my yen crosses section, see how I've got trend lines through these levels. Now this is what we call the Ichiban sort of strategy. It is amazing, right? I'm talking a huge opportunity to really define the trading opportunity itself. What you're looking for is where the cloud, okay, and the trend lines coalesce or diverge. Okay, what you have is you have all the traders outside of Japan watching the trend line. You have all the Japanese traders trading off the Ichimoku Cloud as well. What you do usually get is you get a clean sweep through the trades. The break trade there is quite awesome. If it's in a solid uptrend, it generally holds. Okay, remember the trend is your friend. Now, one other thing that you can look to be doing here, and this is where probably traders with a bit more short time frame, see how inside the cloud you can get a decent amount of trading activity. Now this is an area there that, because it's undecided, and you know it generally bounces, okay, inside the cloud, up and down, up and down, up and down, until it breaks through, okay, either side, and you want to give it, as I said, 10 or 15 points through the levels before you close out your positions. These can be great levels if you come to the screens and you see the currency in there to start potentially scalping the market. And what we're talking about is the bankers call it jobbing the market, where you're buying and selling, buying and selling. This is a level where you can get into a trade and be, even if you're only taking 5 or 10, 15 points, a number of times. And what you want to be doing is, if you've done this 3, 4, 5 times, you can keep going. Obviously, you can see where it's getting closer to a potential move outside the cloud. Is either stop, or you'll have one trade that is a loss, and then you get into the break trade back through the other side of the cloud. It's a nice, easy strategy. It's an extra strategy on top whilst you're waiting to see whether the currency, okay, stays below the cloud, okay, could just drift off. If it starts to get in the cloud, then there's a chance to be potentially looking for a scalping opportunity until it breaks through. Now, don't forget, there's an aspect of the market we're not looking at here right at the moment, and that is the fundamental aspect. Once you start to understand these fundamental components, right, the GDP numbers and the influence they have on the equity markets, you'll know exactly which way the currency's going. So that's perfect. If you know the direction of the currency and it is coming, say it's going down, and you've got a cloud, well, you know exactly when to get in and where to get in, and you can actually load up on the opportunity. With direction from the fundamentals, the trade becomes even easier. And what you'll be doing is, I can tell you every day when you come to that Asian session, you'll be looking at your charts differently, and you'll be hoping, oh, I wish there was a cloud close, because when you have the cloud in, you know where the market's trading and you can go with it. When it's trading outside, well below the cloud, okay, this is no man's land. It'll just wash around directionless, okay, and this is where it gets tricky. You've got to get into the trade up closer to the cloud itself, and that's where the best trading opportunities are. All right, so that's one of the key aspects that we're looking at. Now, what we did, we took this a step further. Well, we've got a couple of tools here. Now, if I'll just come back, I'll just show you that site. Now, we've got a couple of tools here. What we're doing is really looking at the, we've got a couple of opportunities there with some brokers there as well. Have a look at the trading software. We actually developed some software to actually take advantage of the cloud. Now, one is the trendline trader that we use to attach to trendline. So as the currency moves, okay, the trendline trader, just to give you a quick heads up. Let me just come over, change charts there, blow this one up. Okay, so what we're looking to do is basically get into a trade on a break of a trendline. Now, 95% of our clients have full-time trading jobs. I mean, not trading jobs, like full-time jobs. So they trade, independently outside that. So what you want to do is, potentially this say just looking at the trend line, if it breaks, there's generally a chance of a break of the trend and it goes lower. We built the trend line trader to track the trend line. So over the course of the day, as that trend line moves higher, your order moves higher. Right? It's a great tool to place any technical trade. So that's in there. Now, we took this a step further. So if I come back over here to the main site, you can go in here, have a look at that. It's a great tool to get into it. What we found is, yeah, that's awesome for trend lines. But what about the Asian session? What about the Ichimoku Cloud? So what we did is we developed the Ichimoku Trader, which actually does the exact same thing, except it actually tracks the trend lines. I mean, tracks the cloud itself. Stumbling over myself there. So what we do is, if we look for a breakdown here, so the currency is above the cloud, you can set the Ichimoku Trader, and it can be sitting there for a week, that you know when it breaks down through this cloud, you may have a break trade on. So if you're busy all week, you can place a thing and it will track the cloud to make sure that the entry level is at the right point at the right time. Now this works on both sides of the cloud, so if you're looking to go with the trend, it will place an order to buy and it will keep that order equidistant from the Ichimoku Cloud so you can get in at the right level of the direction you choose. This is one of those things that you just have to have. I mean, if you're not trading, you can't be in front of the screens all day. I would generally say to any trader, you do your analysis. If it takes half an hour, that's great. Then your job's done. By the time you've done your analysis, you should already be able to identify the trading opportunity, whether it's one trade or multiple opportunities, put the orders in the market, and then let the currencies do the work, go about your day. Okay? This is the best thing about it. Now, what we are doing through our whole program is, now, we've got a number of things to get people into understanding this and spreading the word about where these easy trading opportunities are. Okay, we've made most of our program online. Okay, so this is for all different peoples, for all different walks of life. Now I know some people are looking to build wealth. Other people are looking for just basically a second income. And then there's others who are looking to maintain their lifestyle and manage and diversify their portfolios. You can do this through one of our packages, but the main one, and I guess this is where Paul Nogin was actually sort of speaking as well. If you want the best results, and this is where a lot of people do come unstuck, they try a lot of things themselves, you need professional guidance, and this is where the sort of mentoring aspect comes in and where you do learn about all these different aspects. We've got, there's a whole range of different strategies to take advantage of different currencies and different setups. Whoops, if I just get rid of that one. So what we're looking to do is get people upskilled to understand how to trade the Asian session. The Asian session and understanding, right, how you can trade Ichimoku Cloud better is looking at the Asian session, and the relationship between the Nikkei or the equity market and also dollar yen is extremely important. Days where you have economic numbers coming out, and this is the absolute best part about it, the Japanese numbers come out 10 minutes before the equity markets open. Right, so if there is any variance in these numbers, and you've got the currency here above a cloud, for instance, it's about putting the 1, 2, 3 points together. Say the Japanese numbers come out strong all week, or they're variant, we get the direction from the Nikkei. So basically, if the numbers are weak, okay, this is where everyone gets a little bit confused. I know the currency is quoted as dollar yen, right? Now, this is one of the major nuances. I'll give you a bit of a tip on this one. Now, dollar yen, Japanese data comes out extremely weak. Okay, your natural impulse is to buy dollars, right? Sell yen. Wrong, right? That is wrong. Usually what you see is if that happens, the currency goes up 10 points. The general market gets it wrong every time. What happens afterwards is those negative numbers, yeah, you should be buying dollars, selling yen. It will impact the Nikkei. Nikkei will come off and dollar yen will come off. And when you have a chart where the currency is above the cloud, you've got an entry point just below the first part and then again hitting it again as it breaks back down here. Understanding the cloud profile will enable you to absolutely smash that Asian session, right? A lot of people, everyone gets this wrong. So I was the head trader at Citibank in London from 95 to 99. I spent a lot of time in Tokyo. The art of trading dollar yen, it's a skill. Understanding the Ichimoku Cloud is the first part of it, but then bringing other components to fine-tune that analysis is the next part. As Matthew mentioned there before, looking at the bringing in stochastics, okay, where's the momentum in the market? Where is the cloud? How is the economic numbers fitting in? And what's the equity market doing? You tie these 3 points in together, right, you've got a great opportunity almost every day. And this is where you start to really nail big opportunities like sterling yen, euro yen, Aussie yen, Kiwi yen, CAD yen, Swiss yen. All these things will become your favorite trading currency pairs. Okay, that's without a shadow of a doubt. All right, so let me just come back in. Any other questions there, guys? I mean, we've got still got about 10 minutes to go. Hopefully, the key aspect is just really opening your eyes to what the real market is looking at during that Asian session in particular. Now, one of the key things, and this is where we talk to a lot of people about, you know, this whole mentoring profile. I mean, if I asked everyone in the on the webinar here now, who wants to be a professional trader and make a lot of money? Okay, everyone puts their hands up. Yeah, I do. Okay, well, there's a couple of things you need to do. You need the tools. If you don't have a tool to analyze the market like I do here, okay, Metastock, you are fighting the market yourself. If the IT is too hard, you won't be trading for very long because it will become a bit of a nuisance and you will not be able to read the market correctly. These charts are 100% accurate and they are very flexible. Once you understand the functionality of these of the tools themselves, that's when trading becomes fun and all you're doing is looking for opportunities instead of squabbling over, have I got my trend lines drawn properly, is the cloud on there properly, all these various aspects. Okay, so, and that's pretty much the way you can do that. Now once again, I don't want to spend too much time sort of plugging away here, but if you want to get any of these opportunities, now one thing that we've got going at the moment is we're opening up the whole business. Okay, now Traders for Traders, we've been working as professional training guys for like 6 years and we've got a lot of high net wealth guys that we train and spend a lot of time with, but we're opening up the product to everyone else. Now what you can do is actually get register, I should say, for membership, and you can actually get a whole bunch of free tools, and this is part of you guys being part of the APAC summit here today. You will get access to the back end. If you come to the actual site and register, you can log in here and you get a free FX Kickstart course. You can come back in and get a whole bunch of guides, as well as the there's a key market insight page there which we track everything every day. You can add extra content yourselves, and it's a great forum for trading and learning itself. Okay, I mean, it contains the whole learning profile here, so you've got all your educational components in one hub. You've got access to the team and the market, our analysis, which is the most important thing. What you want to do is, as a trader, is start to build your confidence and understanding. And how do you do that? Well, you surround yourself by professional traders who are talking day in, day out about this. So one of the key parts is the market insight page, where we give our crew a bit of a preview of what's going to happen through each session, where the key focus is, looking at the major currency pairs, general technical levels and forecast, and then looking at our key charts and looking for the opportunities here with the various currency pairs. Okay, and once again, you click on those charts, you get a bigger profile. Now, as you can see, everything we do is on the Metastock platform. It is a one-stop shop that traders at the institutions live by. Right? As I said, if you want to get skilled in trading, make sure you've got the tools. That $99 a month, especially for the 3-month trial, is completely insane. Just about every one of our clients gets it because it is the best tool. It's your connection to the market and analysis, and these are the tools that will make you a cartload of cash. So make sure you actually sign up for that, because it is, I mean, I can't speak high enough of it. It's the easiest sell because it's the most awesome product. Now, if you want to come back in through the trading hub, the FX trading hub, so as I was saying, what we've done is we've opened it up. So you get access to these components here. You can have a look through what it is we're doing. Now, what we want to do is we want to get everyone trading. If you want to be upskilled, well, then that's available, but it's no prerequisite. Jump online. We've got a bunch of forums which we are updating all the time. I think it'll be updated this weekend, so everyone can add some input, okay, whether it's trading opportunities, whether it's general news itself. You can come into these pages and actually have a look at and get some guidance, whether they're trading opportunities or general market commentary. Okay, it's a great idea, good resource, and the other best thing about this for a lot of traders, and I mean, I'm the same, like if you want to get educated, I mean, I know you've got to pay for university degrees, which is painful, but what we've got now is we've got a bunch of reputable brokers that we've partnered with who will actually pay for a lot of your training profile. Okay, how do you get free training? Well, you can fund an account, and some of these companies will pay a cash upfront fee just for joining them. There's also, as you trade, you earn cash credits, and that'll allow you to buy strategies, you know, various components of the course or whatever it is, or even that trading software. Have a look at that, check it out. It's pretty good. There's also the Pro Trader Workshop, which is kicking off on May 23rd. Okay, it's 4 separate sessions. It's a good profile builder on the back of the Pro Trader course. So the idea is you get the online Pro Trader course. It's quite extensive, and once you do go through that course, you get online, and we actually take it to the next level through the actual training program. So the idea is get on the FX Trading Hub. You can register, as I said, for free. You get access to a whole range of activities, see what's going on, add some value. If it works for you, well, then that's great. If it doesn't, well, then you haven't lost anything. Now, there's one last question here just to go off. What is the best hours to trade the Asian session? What do you guys think? Well, the best time is when that key market is trading. So it's the Japanese session is by far and away the most important component of it. Okay, starts at 10 a.m. Sydney time and goes through to the start of the European session. So that's the whole profile. The Asian session itself is really Japan, and that's what you really need to focus on. And that's when these crosses and dollar yen are the most active. Okay, and of course, you know, it's no sort of rocket science in this one. That's when the Bank of Japan will be active, okay, in the afternoon sessions, especially with those monetary policy meetings or any announcements. They do come out later in the afternoon, and that's when you'll get the best trading opportunities through this. All right. All right, that's any other questions there before we go, guys? I mean, this has been a really good opportunity to show you some more advanced trading skills, more how to access the market and hit it hard. As I said, jump on to the Trades for Traders site. We have got the FX Trading Hub here ready to go as far as getting you upskilled. As I said, you can register for free and become part of the community. We're all about building a network that makes money, right? That's the whole idea of this. It's us against the market. If we can help you in any way and improve your trading, then that's the whole idea of the business. You know, when you look at success, it can be measured in a number of different ways. We look at just improving your overall performance by understanding what you're doing and how to take advantage of it is the best way to do it. And there we go, guys. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks, Hunter. Man, it's been an awesome opportunity to give you guys some insight into trading the Ichimoku Cloud.
Brad, you're great. Thank you very much for the presentation. You know, one thing that we like about one of the tools the main tool he was actually showing is a tool called Metastock Zenith. And just to take a second and kind of tell you a little bit about Metastock Zenith, it is actually a tool that was built by Thomson Reuters essentially to compete with the Bloomberg terminal. And that is what all the professional traders use. It's a fundamental resource. It obviously has charting capabilities with the Ichimoku Cloud and some other you know, basic indicators, etc. It's a huge resource for traders that like to implement some fundamental trading aspects into their analysis. So Thomson Reuters put about $1 billion into creating this platform to compete with Bloomberg, and we were actually lucky enough, being owned by Thomson Reuters at one point, to actually create a retail version, a subset of what the Thomson Reuters professional traders use. And so we called that Metastock Zenith, and that is available for all of our retail users. If you're an FX trader, it is $99 a month, and going along with our Asia PAC Summit trial offers, we will offer 3 months for the price of 1 on that. Now, those of you just coming in, welcome. Metastock has been around for quite some time. We've been around for about 30 years, and what it's allowed us to do is really explore the markets from everything to stocks, futures, FX, as you just saw. We're able to handle our fundamental analysis through the Zenith platform that you just saw. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've been able to secure the Reader's Choice Award with Stocks and Commodities magazine for 25 years now. We will what we want to do is really show you how the platform works and get into it a little bit and have you use it into your trading. And one of the best ways to do that is actually try out the software. So we are offering a trial for those of you attending the summit, and you can get that trial. I've actually put it in the chat box. You can get that trial at metastock.com/APAC Summit 3 for 1. And you will be able to just sign up with the trial from there. Now, for those of you that are in Australia, I do want to mention this again. We are coming to Sydney, Australia in July. July 16th and 17th. We'll be at the Radisson Hotel and Suites in Sydney. We're very excited to do these face-to-face events. We obviously love our Online Trader Summit. You guys have made it a huge success in the industry. We also like to do these live training sessions with other market experts. At this one in Sydney, we're actually going to have Rahul Mahendar. We're going to have Stuart McPhee. We're going to have Paul Nogin, who you probably heard earlier. Scott Brown, owner of Metastock. We're going to have Kelly Clement, who is the director of sales here at Metastock. Normally, these in-person trainings, they go for $599, but we are doing an Asia Pacific Summit special where we're going to give you $200 off. So the price for that is $399. So if you're looking to get set up with a Zenith trial, if you're looking to get set up with a Metastock trial, or if you want to attend this Sydney conference that we're doing and meet us face to face and partake in this training, please contact us. One way, we're actually available right now, www.metastock.com/sales chat. I have a couple of guys manning the chat forum right now. Or give us a call at +1 801 506 0900. Of course, that is our internet.